Hi, I'm Nate Fisher. I'm the Director of Communications here at the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber.
And I'm Kaylee Terracina. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at the Chamber.
And welcome to the first edition of our new podcast. What are we going to call this thing?
I think AudaCity is what I'm feeling.
So that's what we're going to go with. This is AudaCity, the new VeloCityOKC podcast. So what is it that we're trying to do with this, Kaylee?
Well, I think one thing that's really limiting by VeloCityOKC.com is you can't really hear the backstory of the stories that we're working on. We have a staff of probably 8 writers, and when we're writing stories for Velocity, we learn a lot of cool things, but there's not always a great place to share it. So hoping we get a lot of behind the scenes info.
Right. We think there's a lot of cool things that we do find out about just through the process of going through our daily work, and that maybe we could use a new method of propagation to get some of those things out there. So that's the idea behind this podcast. So the other thing that we'd like to find out from you guys is what kind of stuff would you like to see us cover? So we're going to be talking about some of the things that we come across in our through our work and our day-to-day stuff that we do here at the Chamber, but we'd like to know a little bit about what you guys might want us to cover in terms of subject matter, whether that be particular, maybe new Chamber member restaurants that are new in town. We'd be very, very glad to go and taste test some of those types of things for you, whatever the case may be. But what is it that you'd like to see? So there are a couple ways to let us know about that. One of those would be just to simply email us at networking@okcchamber.com. And the other way would be just to reach out to us on Chamber social media. So that's generally OKC Chamber on any of your preferred social media platforms. So
I think, we should get started. What are some of the favorite things that you've learned about Oklahoma City since we launched Velocity last year?
Well, a couple of things that I've come across really recently. I do consider myself a little bit of a pastry connoisseur, right? I really do enjoy finding out about who's got a lot of the best sort of pastries around town. So, we here at the Chamber know that Brown's Bakery, for instance, does
Always
a great job with their donuts. I'm a little bit of a cinnamon roll fiend, so I have a cinnamon roll rule. Basically, if I see a cinnamon roll and I have money, I buy said cinnamon roll and then eat it. So
it's not a bad rule to have. I feel like that's very solid. So
had a lot of cinnamon rolls lately. But we went to eat at Kitchen 324 the other day, and they have a pastry counter that is pretty magnificent, if I do say so myself. And they had an apple fritter there. They had an apple fritter and a French maple cruller.
Oh my goodness.
And so I decided to try one of those. So I took a bite of the apple fritter and just about passed out. So very...
Hopefully because it was great?
It was great,
okay.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Just wanted to clarify.
Fantastic job, Kitchen 324. More of that. That's great. So subsequent to that, now I've actually gotten a couple more fritters over the past few days.
I feel like we need to do a fritter roundup on the blog. I think we're missing an opportunity by not doing that.
We might need
Seems like that would be prime market research for you. So
we might need to investigate the world of fritters in Oklahoma cities. Anything that you've come across recently in town?
Well, I think that Summer Terry, when she wrote that article about deviled eggs across Oklahoma City for Easter, that really just spoke to my heart as a Southern gal who loves my Southern food. That was a really interesting article. I loved all the research and work we all as an office got to put into that. So I think there was a fried deviled egg somewhere, and I can't remember the restaurant at this time, but man, that one was life-changing. So.
Okay, so we'll have a link to that article in the show notes.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Be sure to
but we do write more than just about food and drink. I feel like we should clarify that as well.
That is
we
true.
like eating, but we also cover all things in Oklahoma City, not just food, restaurants, and beverages. So
that's true. And a good example of that is recently you did an interview with Steve Mason. So
absolutely.
Steve Mason is a developer. He's an engineer. And he's pretty well known for being sort of the driving force behind some of the early automobile alley development that really helped kind of turn that area around. And then also the 9th Street area in particular, and then also the Plaza District.
You would struggle to find a neighborhood that, Oklahoma City residents consider cool that he hasn't had some mark on in some way. That was one of the biggest things that I learned. I actually visited his new development at Yale Theater, which is in Capitol Hill on Southwest 25th Street, and we'll be running an article about that on VeloCity in July. But while I was there, I was able to talk to him a little bit more about his developments all across Oklahoma City, and it was fascinating just to get his perspective on how Oklahoma City has changed in the past 2 decades. He was really a visionary leader on the importance of having a really fun corporate campus. That's actually why he started investing in 9th Street. So hearing the importance that he places on placemaking was really interesting to me and inspiring. Something else that I really learned from him is how he really considers the needs of the community and places so much importance on input from community members, existing community members, that I found that a really fascinating, the fascinating way that drives his development plan. So I learned a lot from talking to him. It was really my first experience to get to chat with him about development in Oklahoma City, and it was inspiring to see his vision for not just Capitol Hill area, but every neighborhood that he works in.
Right. That's one of the things that really struck me through reading the transcript of that interview and kind of going through some of that stuff is I thought his earnestness in the sense of he had this idea behind being sort of socially conscious when you're investing in a particular area and trying to kind of go about things the right way. And he had some interesting things to say about, how you would go about curating different areas to make sure that, both they're performing the economic function they need to, but also in the sense that they're good for the neighborhood as a whole. So I thought that was really interesting, and you could really feel his earnestness come through kind of reading.
Absolutely. That was the number one thing that struck me when talking to him, is how much he cares about the well-being of the community, the existing community, and also the future of how his developments will impact that community. Like you said, the earnestness came through in our conversation 100%, and it really renewed my faith in these new developments and how they're going to impact all of Oklahoma City and all residents in Oklahoma City. It was really special to get to hear that from him. So
yeah, that's cool. Well, and it was a great piece, and so we're going to have a link to that Q&A as well in the show notes. So be sure to check that out with Steve Mason. Then, do you want to give a little bit of a preview? You mentioned it before, but what's coming up next month?
Well, Steve's newest development that you may have read about in the newspaper and on VeloCity already is the Yale Theater, and the renovation of that space is really amazing. There is not a lot of venues or restaurants or anything that's kind of open later on 25th Street in Capitol Hill, even though it's one of Oklahoma City's older neighborhoods. The theater that they purchased, Yale Theater, was built in 1910. It was an outdoor theater first, then constructed. The building that it's in now was in 1918. I actually recently went to see the more finished version of the theater, and they had some of the original family members there, which was really cool to see them kind of interact with the space now that it's been renovated. And from what Steve was telling me about the area, this was really where everyone in South Oklahoma City would go to the movies, up through the 70s even. It was a really popular place for people to hang out, and then it just kind of fell into disrepair as, urban renewal kind of took place. So I think the fact that he's given it new life, the style that he chose to decorate it in, he worked really closely with Sarah Kate Studios on the interior design, and Amy Apatoni was also his business partner on this. So I think he's really revived it and done the original space justice, and I can't wait to see what other developments in that area it spurs. I think it's going to be awesome. So you'll get to read more about that in VeloCity next month.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll look forward to that.
Absolutely. Something we talked about a lot in my initial interview with Steve was that, the streetcar obviously had a big impact on 9th Street, which is where a lot of his original properties were.
Right.
How have you gotten to experience the streetcar since it opened in December?
Yeah, well, and I have to say that I do live downtown. I live and work downtown, and so my experience is maybe a little bit different than the average citizens, but I've really enjoyed using it quite a
absolutely.
bit. I think that what Embark's done in terms of updating their app to show the estimated arrival times at each stop, just from a planning purposes, that's really been nice to see, because then that eliminates the chance that you're going to get to a stop and then have to wait another 20 minutes for a car to show because you just missed the last car. So I really, really enjoy that feature, and that makes using the system a lot better for the user, I thought. So I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
How often do you use it, would you say?
A couple times a week at least.
Awesome.
It doesn't, my work to or my route to work, it doesn't really work for me to go back and forth to work, but it does help to get me. I live in sort of the Deep Deuce area, and so if I want to go anywhere in Midtown or up on the northern parts of Automobile Alley, I've actually used it to get a little bit closer to Film Row, in fact, and stay on foot. So it's been really, really good for me, and it's been really cool to see all the people from seemingly all over the city come and experience it. And I mean, everybody just seems to always have a really big smile on their face when they're using it. And the kids are really enjoying it. So it's been a really cool experience for me so far.
Absolutely.
How about you?
Well, I don't live downtown, so I don't have the opportunity to use it as much as you do maybe, but I have used it to move from Central Business District to Midtown for work meetings and lunch appointments. And I was actually downtown on a Sunday 2 weeks ago and stopped in and had coffee at Selenova, and I was watching the streetcar stop, and so many people on a Sunday afternoon, families, people here for conventions and events, just, you know, your average Oklahoma City resident. So many people were hopping on and off the streetcar throughout the day. And I think that's a really cool thing to see more people returning to our core, you know, the heart of downtown, using that service to get around and experience new districts. And I think once the park is finished, once our convention center is finished, it's going to give us even more access to parts of downtown that we may not go to as frequently now. So I love it. I'm a big streetcar fan. So.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's been great.
Yeah.
So we've done a couple pieces on VeloCity about using the streetcar, some different things that you can do while you're using the streetcar. And a subject that's near and dear to my heart is breweries and craft brewing.
Absolutely. I was hoping you'd bring this up. He's our resident beer expert, obviously.
Something that I enjoyed. So we actually have 5 different breweries that are along the streetcar route. And so we did a piece, one of the early streetcar pieces we did on VeloCity was basically how to use the streetcar to do a brewery crawl and go to all
There's
the
no
different
better
breweries.
way. I mean, you're not driving, it's safe, you just hop on, go to all the breweries you want to. It's really the perfect system, honestly.
Right. So that's been a lot of fun. And it was kind of funny the other day, this was a couple weekends ago, we were at Elk Valley Brewery up on their rooftop.
A great one, yeah.
Yeah, and we overheard a couple sitting next to us up there, and it seemed like they were quoting a lot of the things from the article, a lot of verbiage from the article, and so leaned over and said, "Are you looking at the streetcar brewery tour from VeloCity?" And they said, "Yeah, we're here doing a staycation. It's my girlfriend's birthday, and we thought we would, go through and do this, and so we're just doing the prescribed route." And they were having a lot of fun with it, and it was really cool.
That's
really
awesome.
cool to see. Yeah. So
you should have said, "Hey, I'm the author. I'm the expert on the brewery system here." So could have bragged a little bit there.
Yeah.
But there's more than just breweries along the route. I mean, have you written anything similar that might highlight other things you can do along the streetcar route?
Yeah, there are quite a lot of coffee shops along the route.
Mentioned Selenova earlier. That's one of my faves.
Selenova, that's right. Yeah, if you want to get caffeinated out of your mind and just get the shakes all day long, it's very, very easy to do on the streetcar. So
sounds even more dangerous than the brewery tour, honestly. That might be worse for you. I don't know.
It could be. And then recently we did a piece on brunch places that you could go using the streetcar. And so that was a little surprising for me doing the research for that, because initially I thought, well, maybe we'll have 1 or 2, 3, a handful of chamber members that are doing brunch along the streetcar route that we can talk about. And so it'll be easy to kind of pull up their menus and do a little bit of explanation on what each offers. No. Brunch is a huge thing, in case you're not aware, okay?
Brunch is hot right now, guys.
Brunch is really, really, really hot right now. So there are, I want to say, something like 15 different chamber members along or near the streetcar route that you can indulge all your brunch fantasies on.
Yeah,
and
that's got your weekends booked for the next, season. So
absolutely.
That's exciting.
So if you want to have a Sunday fun day from the get-go, you can go.
You have your options.
That's right. But that was really surprising. There are a lot of different restaurants are doing a lot of really, really cool things and different things to experience, in terms of menu items. And so there's lots of different variety along the route. So
awesome.
any type of brunch that you want to experience, it's there. So we've got all the menus and the hours and the days that the different restaurants are offering brunch on the VeloCity article. So I'll include that in the show notes as well. You can check that out and please do that. The other thing that I want to mention about the streetcar is it's actually free once a month.
Oh, that's right. They're doing the third Friday of the month is free through the summer. That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, so if you want to come down and you have a problem paying the $1,
it's really cheap, guys.
Yeah, but I get it.
You can test it out on the third Friday of the month.
Third Friday of every month. So the next free day will be July 19th.
Okay.
Depending on when you're listening or watching this. But yeah, July 19th is the next one.
Yeah, that's good. A good excuse to take the streetcar to a fun lunch place that day.
Absolutely.
So another brewery that we've had the chance to write about that isn't on the streetcar route is Anthem. So tell us a little bit about that story that we ran talking to their brewmaster.
Yeah, Anthem let us in and let us do a little bit of a taste testing session, which was really fun for everybody. Awesome. And we used that to write an article about Anthem. But in the course of doing that article, we also got to interview a couple folks up there, one of which was Derek Duty, who's the Director of Marketing Communications there at Anthem. Mm-hmm. And so we interviewed him, and he told us a lot about Anthem's brand and their history and kind of what they are looking to do going forward. But he also had a lot of really cool things to say about Oklahoma City's craft brewery culture in general, and also sort of the entrepreneurship culture in and around Oklahoma City and how people tend to support each other and all the new cool things that are happening. And so we're going to run a few snippets of that interview here at the end of this. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And if you'd like to see the rest of that, again, we'll leave a link to that piece in our show notes. So yeah, thanks for listening / watching, whatever the case may be. And we just encourage you to be sure and subscribe to this via our new channel on YouTube. Be sure you hit the little bell so you get notifications whenever a new episode hits.
Absolutely.
And thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully we'll hear from you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
I think the last 10 or so years, I think everyone would agree it's a different city. I think that coincides definitely with entrepreneurship here, new businesses. I mean, look around, it's amazing. You're looking at a thriving environment. The city's moving this direction. The city's moving all directions, but for us especially, it's coming this way. The sprawl is coming here in amazing ways too. I mean, a beautiful park coming in, the film row right up the street, the district's exploding. I think entrepreneurship's never been better. It says a lot about not just business in general. Restaurants, we discussed. Obviously, right and left, they're up and down, but with craft brewing, I mean, craft brewing in Oklahoma, it's amazing. I mean, like I said, when we started, 4 to 5 craft breweries, and it was kind of a niche thing that was cool that, hey, someone's doing it here, and now it's a full-blown business where you can't really go, if you're in the city right now, especially a few blocks without hitting another craft brewery tap room or a brewing facility itself. It's kind of unbelievable, and I think that has to do with the ability to do so in the city. We all started from the same place. We started with one little brew house, making beer and hoping that we could get it in a restaurant, to now serving the entire state pretty handily, regardless of the industry. So I'd say because of the entrepreneurial spirit and the ability to do so here, we've taken advantage of it, and we've been lucky to live in a place that allows that. And there's a bunch coming up behind us that will have the same, and they're experiencing it and thriving in it now too. The beer drinking culture of Oklahoma City is, I'd say this, I'm very proud of it. I think it's probably a place that started in a very typical American idea of, blue collar. We drink clear, macro level brewery beer on the regular. That's our home base. I know even with us having approachable styles, we're still seen as craft beer. That's weird. That's odd. I mean, we're at the point now that there's breweries in the state that are making beers that are distributed throughout the world that really push an envelope to a lot of degrees. And we make a lot of product too that I think for the common consumer, maybe kind of maybe get them to the end of their comfort zone. What I love though is that the culture here now, especially sitting in our tap room, you see people embrace new things constantly. That's why we offer 5 core beers and several rotators seasonally, but we always offer a very unique product that we only offer in the tap room to give people an experience that isn't. It's probably a little outside the box, push them a little bit more than what our standard product does. And what's fun is watching people choose that over the standard quite a bit of times in here, mostly just because of having a new experience where they'll spend some time with those, they'll enjoy one, pick one or two, or they'll come back in and have those, and then always know they can fall back on what we always have. I would say probably 5 years ago, I don't think that'd be the same way still. I think, and the reason of that is purely for one fact that the availability of the product to enjoy and try is now here in the state, where if you still want to support local craft, and you want to try somebody different, you want to help out a new business or see what they're up to, and they do offer something that isn't in the zeitgeist that other people are working with, you'll have the opportunity to try it, and then boom, you may have a new favorite beer, right? Next thing you know, you're loving what they do, you're trying it from other people locally and on a national level. It's super amazing to watch the palette of who you grew up around and thinking you knew what beer was, and it's one of 3 or 4 brands that is sold in the grocery store or at the gas station, and now you've got options that there's too much to even try. So I think that says a lot. It's a great testament. I would say I would put the craft community here up against probably any big market, the Portlands, Denvers, Asheville, North Carolina, the beer-centric towns. I would say Oklahoma City's beer drinker could slide right into any of those markets and be exactly where they are here. So it's pretty amazing for us.